Welcome. What is 83? Episode 83. We are jumping back into the shallow end. We're not going straight into the deep end here. We are going to have a reintroduction episode. I'm going to tell you all the most shocking thing I learned over the holiday. And this was after consuming an 800-page Van Gogh biography, that I think he was murdered.
Wow.
Yep, he didn't kill himself. I loved this book. It is deeply depressing. I actually listened to the book, so it ended up being 43 hours long. So it's a decently long book, about 800 pages. It is astonishing. He used to chew on the end of his paintbrush. They would dip it in chili powder, rub it with chilies. They sold one painting his whole life. Can you imagine? Also, Christmas was a very fraught time for Vincent. We are very excited. We have a whole new list of rules that we are going to be rolling out. That will come out in a few weeks. If you remember, 3 years ago, we released the ambassador rules for marketing. Every brand has mercilessly stole them from us. They have become industry standard across the board and really set the tone for what influencer marketing became over the last 3 years. We are releasing our next set of rules, which are going to be just as, if not more, impactful. We're going to do a whole episode on them. We'll be talking about them a lot over the coming weeks. But I'm wearing a sweater today. It didn't feel like the right outfit to talk about something with such gravitas. It reminds me of Jimmy Carter's sweater moment. You know, he addressed the nation one day in a cardigan, and then everyone was like, I'm not listening to this guy. He's wearing a sweater. I think that was maybe the last president to ever appear on TV in a sweater. It ruined him.
Yeah, I know. I remember when Obama wore a
Tan suit. Yeah. Imagine what political scandals used to be. So the sweater's not right. We've talked a lot on this show about how internet culture is becoming culture. And part of our bigger, broader vision here at Fohr is that influencer marketing will become the dominant form of brand communications. Part of that happening is that internet culture becomes culture. If culture is dominated and driven by internet culture, then it makes sense that the stars of that culture, influencers, will become the leading voices in culture. And so in the same way that in the 90s, it was athletes and more traditional celebrities that took the bulk of ambassador and spokesperson jobs because they were at the kind of pinnacle of culture, then if internet culture becomes culture, then influencers take those spots. And so it's interesting to just track examples of this happening. And we have a few. One, the Stanley Cup stampede, which I don't know if that's branded that, but that's what we're gonna call it. I don't want to say they're Karens. That's projecting, but there was definitely a Karen or two in there for sure.
Male Karens as well.
Yeah, exactly. I hate a big cup. I think people that drink out of these enormous receptacles are completely ridiculous. Well, it's not a New York thing at all because it's such a driving culture thing because it fits in the fucking cup holder, but is this tall or something. No, who wants to carry a cup around? Then you have a cup, a dirty cup that you just are carrying with you, the Stanley Cup is whatever, is fine. Anyway, so if you haven't seen that, we got on a tangent. If you haven't seen, a bunch of people stampede a Target to get a special edition Stanley Cup. Now, I must say, this is one of the most swagless videos I've ever seen in my life. Risking life and limb for a mug. But why does it support our internet culture is becoming culture? This mug is popular because of TikTok. And it has obviously become so popular that people are throwing themselves. Did you see can we get the meme of the guy who jumped at the judge today?
Oh my God, yeah.
That's what they looked like going for the Stanley Cups. Something that became popular from TikTok, the last time we talked about it on the show, was the whole car burning thing right? And they've done a good job of capitalizing on that, has now become such a sensation. You know, it's like, again, people are risking life and limb to get this thing. Another example of, I think, the internet like bleeding out into something that is much more like traditional, which is like people going to a Target to like buy some special edition thing. So that's like step one. Two, did anyone see the enormous human Pop-Tart that was lowered into the toaster and then came out of the toaster, toasted, and then people ate that same Pop-Tart mascot thing? The winning football team eats the mascot at the end of the game. This is so weird, and it was just, the whole thing was made to be memed. You know, the Pop-Tart's holding like a little sign as he goes down into the toaster, and then the opposing team eats it. Like, it's made for the internet, and it's another example of like brands doing stunts or like creating these situations that they know the whole point of it is not the people who are watching it. I didn't even know there was a Pop-Tart bowl, right? But like, you know it's going to be shared on the internet, right? And they are increasingly, the marketing is about getting people to talk about it, getting them to share it and make it their own, right? And creating a meme out of something is such a big part of internet culture. Everybody is trying to get their thing to become a meme because, you know, whether that lasts a day, a week, a month, or some of them last just years, you know, it can become just a part of the cultural vernacular. It is so powerful. And just another example, again, while I know sports, especially on Twitter, is like a big part of the conversation, that community is also one that's probably like more resistant to like the strangeness of internet culture. And so to see it seeping into bowl games and it being really successful is really encouraging. Lastly, another, you know, this is just kind of a trend that I noticed, was that there's always the year in review post is always the big thing, right? For years, it's been the carousel, and it's the carousel photos, and oh, these were my highlights from the year, et cetera, et cetera. All of a sudden this year, that was taken over by the year in review reel. Everybody was making the reels. Video is harder for most people to like create and make, right? And so even something like the year in review, which like I think everybody knows, like, okay, I have enough videos to like cut this together, and I don't have to know anything about editing. I just like take a song and I just put these videos on, and it's like here's my year, right? It gets people comfortable with video. And for many people, it was probably the first reel they ever published, right? And that gets people comfortable with the form factor, and maybe they start doing reels more often, and then maybe they think, oh, maybe I should go from just consuming TikToks to creating them. And so these are kind of like gateway drugs, right? And I saw so many reels from people that I know have never made them before, and I think it's a big indicator of the continued dominance of short form video. So from Van Gogh's Murder to year in review reels, thank you as always for joining us. We are excited for a big 2024. As always, like, subscribe, ask us questions. Also, next week we have a special guest, friend of Fohr, Sephora Squad alumni, Lindsay Silberman, on this show talking all things influence. And she actually didn't talk about hats. She just wears a lot of hats, and candle, and how to run a candle empire. So absolutely catch that episode next week. Tell us what guests you want to have on here, and we will see you next week. In and out for 24, one of each. In is a return to levity in marketing. We were just talking about mascots. I think that like mascots, unhinged stuff, and just like generally having more fun is coming back. Out, ideally, Fed rate increases. Let's hope the Fed follows the guidance and lowers the rate. 3 times would be fine. 5, even better. Lower rates for a better 2024. Cheers to that.